Good morning, Rocket League!
How's everyone doing? Rocket League Decision Making is back with a special guest today. I have PeacefulPaul. Now, Paul was a plat in Season 4 with about 200 hours. He hasn't played too much in recent times, but he's getting back into the game. Most importantly, he is the co-host of the No Question About That Manchester United Football Club podcast and a lifelong supporter. Paul, I've been waiting to have you on this for the longest time. How are you today?
I'm really good, thanks. I'm very excited to be here. And I should clarify that it's not quite true to say that I haven't played a lot recently, because actually we've played a ton recently. I have transitioned from taking Rocket League more seriously than I really want to just playing an awful lot of casual.
Let's jump into some questions. Number one, talking about Rocket League, what's your biggest strength?
I think I'm a natural team player in life in general, but in Rocket League, I think that I am someone who has the capacity to read where I'm supposed to be.
Flip side of that, what is your biggest weakness?
Being in goal, and there's just no way I'm getting to the ball before the opponent. Oh, why am I going for this ball? Why am I going? Oh, they've scored.
Do you ever warm up before you start playing?
No, I mean, I will sometimes, like right now, as we're chatting, I am driving around the training pitch, knocking the ball about. But no, I don't really warm up, not in a serious way.
Okay. Now, I want you to think back to, I want to say 3 years ago. That might have been Season 4. What's one thing that you wish you could tell yourself back then that you know now?
I have to say, I just thought about 30 answers. None of them have anything whatsoever to do with Rocket League. Nothing really meaningful, because I haven't consciously tried to develop my Rocket League skills really ever, to be honest, beyond like playing a lot.
What is one change you would make to Rocket League?
I would get rid of the SwasAye quick chat.
Okay. Toxic.
I would somehow invent a device that meant that you could only use it sincerely when you wanted to compliment your opposition on an excellent save.
Now, I want to talk a little bit of style with you. How do you like to play? Do you want to be aggressive? Do you want to be defensive? You mentioned that you like to be a team player. Midfielder, maybe?
I find that this is mostly a function of the people that I play with more than anything else. If we're going to go with a United theme, I'd like to be a box-to-box midfielder. Okay. Perhaps without the personality, I'll go with Roy Keane.
Continuing our football theme, there's teams such as PSG, FC Barcelona, AS Monaco, and others have all had their stake in esports. Would you like to see Man United join the ranks and maybe compete at a higher level?
No, I hate it. I mean, I don't hate esports, but I hate branding. I hate branding with every fibre of my being. So I have no relationship with the brand Manchester United whatsoever. Like, to me, Manchester United is a railwayman's workers' club that's grown, and it should be a community-oriented, community-minded organisation focused around football. And kind of, if they did it in a super kind of inclusive and like developmental way for the sake of people's well-being, then sure, that'd be great. But as part of the kind of like, hey, how can we future-proof our brand against the rise in esports? Then it's like, nah, I'm not interested.
Next question, Paul. Manchester United are known for their winning ways, and I have to throw this in there with a record. 20 top-tier titles. 20 top-tier titles. Would you like to see an esports team follow that success, or do you hope for a more even playing field for the esports teams that are out there?
Well, it's very interesting. That's a really fascinating question that I can honestly say I've never even started to think about. I think I'm sort of instinctively in favour of a kind of a fairly unregulated model in terms of like draft picks and things like that, you should be able to build a dynasty, I think.
Okay.
But then I also think it's just kind of ugly I suppose it'd be pretty easy in esports to get into a position where you do what like Manchester City or PSG or Chelsea in the mid 2000s have done and just buy your way to the top of the pyramid.
I love it. I think that's a great answer. And I have this weird feeling that this whole interview is going to become its own episode for something. So, next question, though. We've got 2 left. Apart from having a global podcast, you are a counselor and a psychotherapist. So, for a Rocket League player that's struggling, what would your biggest advice be?
So my very, very biggest advice for anyone doing anything that is in esports in particular, sports too, make sure you have it in perspective in your life. Like, being better or worse at Rocket League is absolutely not going to define you. Of course, if you're a completely elite Rocket League professional and this is going to be your career for a period of time, even then I would say make sure you're keeping this in balance with a healthy life outside of Rocket League, because never mind anything else, like, it's the right thing to do anyway. It'll also make you better at the game. Less really is more when it comes to learning skills. Obviously, you've got to put the hours in terms of practice, but you also need time away for it, literally, for your brain to make the neural networks, for the muscle memory to be embedded into your system. But it's also really important that you don't make it your identity, because Rocket League, or esports in general, is an even shorter career that's also generally happening to people before they're fully an adult, because your brain doesn't really finish its development until you're 21 years old. Remember that even if it feels like the most important thing in the world, this is like, I'm 43 years old, right? And I could not sound more like an old man that you're not going to listen to right now. But believe me, there will come a time when you also sound like that old man to someone else who's young and probably goes, "What the hell do you know, granddad?" But it is absolutely true that this will not define you one way or another in your life.
All right, so here we are, very end. Back to Rocket League. You can only choose one: mechanics or positioning.
I kind of basically have. I've chosen positioning, and it's a mistake. But I would say at an elite level, if you're probably more able to make up for slight weaknesses in positioning with strengths in mechanics than the other way around.
Next time you and I are talking, we're going to be looking at some key moments, some key decisions that you made. Do you think you're going to be ready for them?
Yeah, I mean, sure, but that's because I'm putting... I can't tell you how low stakes this is for me.
Perfect. Well, let's jump into those right now. Paul, we are back for part 2. Are you nervous? Are you ready? Are you excited?
No, yes is my answers to those questions. I can't say that I'm nervous, but I am quite curious, and I'm definitely ready.
Okay.
That's a decent kickoff, right? No, don't do anything wrong.
I like that.
There, I was actually nudging that because I kind of thought you might be flying up alongside me at that point.
I'm similar to you. I like to play a little bit more cautious myself, and I never want to be caught out.
Yeah.
Key moment number 1 is about 40 seconds away.
Okay.
So before we get there, I will ask you, have you ever watched one of your own replays back for Rocket League?
Yes, I would have definitely done that back in the day. I don't know how often, like, generally just like sick goals and saves rather than analytically thinking about a whole game.
Okay. Do you know anyone that does?
No, not anymore. I mean, I definitely would if I was serious about trying to get good at Rocket League.
And I'm going to be completely honest, about 90% of the people that I've asked that question all say no. So you were definitely in the majority for that. Key moment number 1 right here. This ball's going to come up, and you're going to notice he doesn't really know what he's doing right now, is on the wall. You have a good amount of patience. You don't seem that you're committing. I'm going to tell you that you're not committing. So I'm going to ask you, Paul, in this situation, what are you thinking? Do you believe that he's going to get to this ball?
100%. Like, I think it's quite trivial that he's going to get to this ball. And because it's doubles, if we were playing threesies, threesies is what me and my friends call, what do you call it? Standard, I guess. But yeah, if we were playing threesies, I would go for this, put some pressure, try and like force a mistake, force a rebound. But in doubles, I figure where you are, if I go for this ball and he clears it comfortably, then they've got a shot on goal immediately. So I'm going to wait at this point.
Okay. I'm going to play it out, and then I'll give you a part two. So he is going to get a great touch. I like the fact that you didn't leave the ground, and that way you get to kind of keep some pressure there, and you get to kind of show him who's boss. Part two is there anything you would do differently in that situation?
When the ball is then bouncing around, I felt like I somewhat, maybe a little bit of pressure of doing this in a kind of recorded setting, maybe I somewhat am a little hesitant in the follow-up. And when we get into that little kind of bit where we're bumping into each other, that was not my intention, sort of thing. That just sort of unfolded. So I would like to have been a little more decisive once he had got a touch on the ball, maybe like even immediately jumping to challenge the ball, because he doesn't get a particularly good clearance on it.
Okay. All right. I think that's a great answer. You explained it very well. And that actually is going to transition us into key moment number 2, 10 seconds away. So we watched the patience first. That second time, we didn't really have the patience there. They tie it up. But that's going to set you up for a true moment of patience. Right here, we're about to see you play goalkeeper.
Mm.
Now, you mentioned this in your interview. Sometimes you kind of take that role. It's definitely something that's kind of phased out of Rocket League.
Yeah,
it's more of a rotations-based system now. So
so I'm not thinking about myself as a keeper. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just rotating back by default, I guess.
So my question then is, in this situation, what's your hope here being kind of in the middle of goal, just behind the line, and you see Fiery Dragon, poised for a shot?
Yeah, I'm trying to be relatively well positioned to line my nose up with the ball as much as possible, so that I'm ready to kind of attack the ball directly. But also, you remember I said in my interview, like, my biggest leak by far would be coming out for this ball, which would be insane from the position I'm in here, obviously, because he's, 150% closer to the ball than me, or whatever it is. So I'm here, and I'm also going to back myself that if he tries to dribble towards the goal, unless he's really much, 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 much better than me, which he well might be, and in fact, he is better than me, they both are, I kind of back myself in 1v1s to wait long enough. Very David De Gea, in fact. I let them make a mistake rather than massively overcommit, because it works so often. Because I think a lot of the time when players of a certain level are dribbling towards a fairly well set goalkeeper, they're waiting for the keeper to make an error rather than trying to do something magical.
I think you're exactly right. Let's play it out. We'll take a watch and then ask you part 2. So he's going to put one up and into the corner, get a nice little double tap. And we are going to get out of that situation. So
I have to say that I wouldn't have expected in the games that I play, someone wouldn't have come over the top of me there to knock the ball out. My teammate would have waited for me to make the clear and then rotated into goal himself, probably.
Your teammate just wanted to be safe.
Good move. Like I'm always glad when it's taken away.
So part 2 to that, is there? Are you happy that you waited where you?
Yeah,
did?
definitely. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. To me, that's a trivial decision for the way I play and my skill set.
All right, I think you handled it really well. I mean, here we are at key moment number 3. We're moving along perfectly. This ball is going to come in. Do you remember this moment, Paul?
No, I can't say I do.
Okay. So, to paint the picture, this ball's going to come in. He's not going to score this original touch, but his teammate is going to be there for a follow-up. We're both going to make a save attempt. So, I'm going to ask you, kind of right about here-ish, right there, what's going through your mind as you're driving backwards? Now you see the other guy.
Is this the one where I tried to bicycle kick it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's just, at this point, right, this is me not being very good at Rocket League, and also playing without ball cam by default. So what I'm doing in this situation is trying to just use the hours of experience to intuit where this ball is going to go and when I can make the save. And it'll work more often than not at the level that I play, but it's not sustainably good, obviously. So I think in this position what you want is to definitely, if I was adept enough, I would want to be flicking ball cam on watching the shot and reacting accordingly, rather than just basically trying to position myself and guess, which is what I'm actually doing.
Okay. And you're kind of answering question or part 2 there.
Yeah.
If there's anything that you would do differently.
Yeah.
The bicycle kick, the backflip came just a little bit too late. I mean, that was a great shot from him. We're not going to take anything away. Did it ever cross your mind that maybe if your car was facing the other way, then you'd be in a good position?
Oh, sure, but I was not in a position to get my car quick enough into the facing the other way, because obviously I would much rather be facing the other way in that spot.
Perfect. I like that pressure right there. As I mentioned to you, as I mentioned to all the viewers, we have 5 key moments. The 4th is like a minute and a half away. It's right near at kind of the end of the game. How do you feel watching this back? How do you feel you're playing?
Actually, not great. I mean, fine. Like, not like calamitously below my level or anything.
Okay.
But I think honestly the biggest challenge to playing is just playing with someone new, but also someone at a level that I've never really played with, to be honest.
Okay.
Like, you've obviously like played countless hours of the game, and yeah, but also like in that conscientious way and practicing and genuinely trying to improve and become as good, like reach your ceiling of Rocket League ability, basically. And that's not the people that I normally play with. I do play with some people who are pretty good at the game, and certainly some people who I think if they had really wanted to apply themselves could have been absolutely fantastic at the game. But not necessarily people who are like naturally air dribbling and, you know, those kinds of things that like doing the half turn and all those kind of things, which are pretty normal and basic for competitive level players nowadays. But yeah, weren't part of the game. Or were at a much higher level.
So my humble opinion here, Paul, I actually think that you're playing very well. You play cautious, like you just said. It's a player that you've never played with, and people really underestimate that. That shot, so close. It's a great save from him. We're going to see over the next 30 seconds, kind of a minute or so, you put on a lot of shots that just don't make it. Does that waver your confidence at all?
Yeah, probably. If I'm really honest, probably a little. Under these circumstances, being recorded and it being kind of an unusual circumstance, but not massively. Here I just literally don't hit the shot that I'm trying to hit. Now, I'm not actually saying that the shot that I'm trying to hit would have worked, but what if this is the moment I remember, then what I'm trying to do is get around the outside of the ball, knock it with the inside of my car back towards the goal, and I end up effectively to his right, to my left, but I end up hitting it to his right, which is not what I'm trying to do.
And, I mean, here we are, key moment number 4. Even in-game while we were chatting, you said, hey, I didn't quite catch this. You just explained exactly what you wanted. Upper 90, left-hand corner. We're going to play it out. It just didn't come off. I think your car had the good position. Maybe just kind of a flip in that direction might have given it a little bit more. We're in overtime. Is there anything you would have done differently in that moment?
No, except be better. Do you know what I mean? Like, just be better at Rocket League, because I tried to do exactly what I think was the right thing to try to do in that situation and just didn't execute, which I never mind. Like, sometimes teammates will apologize for making a mistake, and to me, like, I'm never bothered at all if someone tries to execute something that's the right thing to try to execute and it doesn't come off. That's never going to bother me, and it doesn't bother me too much when I do it either. Bothers me when I do something really dumb.
Hey, I'm going to be... That's the whole point of this series. That's good patience there. You forced him out. Right here, I asked about that confidence.
Horrible.
That confidence wavering. That is going to set us up for key moment number 5. You know, you just showed resilience. And I think for a Manchester United supporter, for someone, you know, that is thrown into the thick of it for Rocket League, I like to see that you're just not giving up. So right here, this is it. This is a key moment. If you watch the first part of the video, you know exactly what's about to happen. Peaceful Paul is now in the situation where he has the ball in front of him and the defender in front of that. Paul, what are you thinking here? What would you like to happen with this pressure?
So the miss a second ago is like, that was silly. You know, like I shouldn't have done that. And then here, I'm just feeling it because like that's a nice touch for me. Those are both kind of nice touches for me. I'm kind of putting the ball where I want to. I'm even thinking there I slightly overhit this. Do you know what I mean? When I'm coming off the wall, that's like a slightly late period Rooney heavy touch. The first touch is kind of like really nice early period Rooney, and the touch up the wall I'm very happy with. But that touch coming off the wall is a little heavy. So this is a move that I use all the time in casual play, which is I'm basically trying to not pinch. A pinch is obviously a very technical term in Rocket League, but I'm trying to dunk on ground level on the other person. So it's not an aerial dunk, but I'm just trying to get above the ball so that when it comes off him, it's going to fly into the back of the net. I mean, I'll use that when making defensive clearances quite often to just patwang the ball out of trouble. If I've got the ball and I'm coming out of defense and I haven't got a move I can easily make, I will just like challenge the other player because I'll back myself to get above the ball and above the other player and force it the other way.
If anyone were to go back and rewatch this video, you have quite a few good challenges. When you challenge, you do challenge very well. Paul, do you have any idea what I have written down for this key moment?
No.
Dunk. Let's take a look. Boom. Dunked perfectly. That goes in. Part number 2, is there anything you would do differently about that?
Absolutely not. I'm very delighted to score an overtime winner in my only ever publicly broadcast game of Rocket League, especially after just shanking a chance wide a few seconds earlier that I should have scored. I actually think that is where you can just get good, not good, but you can just get good enough at Rocket League just by playing a lot, because obviously that's a goal I would have dreamt of scoring when I first started, and now that's completely normal because it's just about body shape effectively, isn't it? It's just about putting the nose of your car kind of directly. I mean, I don't think about this in real time. I'm just like, this is what you're doing, isn't it? You're calculating, keeping your nose in line with the goal. So when he does get the touch, the clearance, if he doesn't get it right, it's gonna go over him, but not high kind of thing.
You nailed it. It looked like a Robin Van Persie volley, if I do say so myself. Here we are at the end, though. I've got 2 questions for you, and then we'll talk about you a little bit. Number 1, overall, Paul, are you happy with the decisions that you made in this game?
Yes, I would say that in terms of what I was trying to do, for the most part, I didn't make any big errors. There's one which we didn't really dwell on just after the one you were kind enough to sort of point out that I was relatively patient. There was one where you crossed the ball in and I kind of wildly gambled a few seconds later. But I'd say apart from that, I don't think I made any big decision-making errors, really, based on what I know I can do or otherwise.
Very well. Question number 2. Do you believe watching your replay back and analyzing some of these situations was helpful? Do you think it'll make you a better Rocket League player?
I think if I did it regularly, it definitely would. But given everything that's going on in my life, I suspect it's pretty unlikely that I'm going to get to... It's a shame. Rocket League will never know what it could have had.
Perfect. Dude, you gave amazing answers, a fantastic interview, but, I mean, you're well-versed in talking all the time, and definitely something that you're passionate about, that I'm passionate about. Please do me a favor, Paul, and talk about anything and everything that you have going on. Social media, podcasts, or lack thereof of whatever.
So I guess the first thing I would say is that, especially with everything that's going on in the world, I work as a therapist, and I work for an organisation in the UK which is the oldest private practice psychotherapy organisation in the UK. And at the moment I do exclusively Skype sessions, but I always do Skype sessions. So I work with people all around the world. So if you're looking for some help and support on that front, please do reach out to me. My email address, you can just use my podcast email address, which is paul at, I'm going to use the old one and say paul@unitedrant.co.uk. Okay. My podcast, which you mentioned, is it's not my podcast, our podcast that I co-host with my friend Ed, is called No Question About That, and it's a Manchester United podcast. So normally recently we've been doing 2 shows a week, and we cover, United generally play 2 games a week, so we generally cover each game in some detail and preview the one to come and talk about the news and react to it in our unique snowflake brand of, general kind of this is a word that gets thrown at us fairly frequently, so just setting the scene. If you're the kind of person that throws that word around, you're not going to like our show. But at the moment, what we're doing is, because obviously there's no football, we're going through some classic United games and covering them as if they were a game now, really, and trying to break them down in some detail. And that's been super fun and super fascinating to go back to some old games. And you can find that on any podcast provider of your choice at No Question. It's called No Question About That.
Perfect. Paul, again, thank you so much. If you are a football fan, especially if you're a Manchester United fan, I cannot say enough good things about the podcast. I got turned on. I tweeted at Scott, Republic of Mancunia, 4 or 5 years ago, and he was kind enough to tell me Rantcast at the time, and I've been in love ever since.
Man.
Is there anything else that you want to say before we go?
No, just look after yourselves. If you're watching this contemporaneously with when it's coming out, it's obviously a kind of unique situation in all of our lifetimes. And as much as you are following your government's advice and guidelines around looking after your physical health, try to do some research on how to best look after your mental health, because that, not only because it's just an incredibly important and good thing to do anyway, it's also really useful for your physical health too.
I love it. All of the things that you talked about are going to be linked down below. For everyone else that's still watching, I have some final thoughts for you, and then we'll take off. Time for some final thoughts. First and foremost, there is an interview, the full interview with PeacefulPaul, Paul from the No Question About That podcast, will be coming out Wednesday. I cannot recommend it enough. If you're a football fan, if you're a Rocket League fan, or if you're just a fan of someone who talks well in an interview setting. I mean, this is what Paul does, and he absolutely crushes it being on the other end. Number two, if we're going to talk about Rocket League stuff, I liked how patient Paul was. I personally am also that kind of player. With increasing his mechanics, he would definitely see a jump in his gameplay, but for just playing fun, I think he's right where he needs to be. And most importantly, lastly, check your mental health. There's a lot going on right now with the pandemic, everything that's going on. Make sure that you're okay. If you're ever not, reach out to someone. You're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I'll try to steer you in the right direction. Paul is another great person to talk to, or just a friend, a family member, and there's plenty of different hotlines online. So please, just take care of yourself more than anything. If you like the video, shameless plug, please give me a thumbs up down below. Comment on anything that happened. I would love to hear from you. And subscribe if you want to see more of these. Don't forget, check out that video, that interview, Wednesday. I'll see you soon. Bye.